Every presidential election is, in a very real sense, a matter of life and death. And today we're going to focus on the death part of that expression. It turns out that between presidential elections, a lot of you voters die. It's just a real fact of life. And between 2012 and 2016, amazingly, far more Republican voters actually will have died off than Democratic voters, and it's expected, or perhaps hoped, depending on who you're talking to, that that will have very big ramifications for the actual vote in 2016. So let's look at some numbers. Of the 61 million who voted for Mitt Romney in 2012, about 2.75 million will be dead by the 2016 election. President Barack Obama's voters will have died too, of course. About 2.3 million of the 66 million who voted for the president won't make it to 2016. Wow, that is grisly. That leaves a big gap in between, a difference of roughly 453,000 in favor of the Democrats. Man, that is a lot of people dying off, and you might wonder why so many more Republicans are dying off. After all, 66 million voted for Obama, only 61 million for Mitt Romney. It's because, as you might expect, the Republican voters tend to be far older, and that's a trend that's continuing. So whatever effect we have in this case, what we're talking about in this video, you can expect larger effects in future elections. And so 400,000, slightly more than 400,000 voters more for the Democrats in 2016 than in just 2012. Now, that's big, obviously, and it seems like the sort of thing that could swing elections, and that's what it's being pitched as in the different blogs talking about it. But I want to tell people to pump the brakes, manage your expectations here, because of course, while 453,000 voters is a lot, once you spread it across 50 different states, it's not as large of an effect. Now, certainly some states, Ohio, Texas, California, they're going to have more of that almost 500,000 voters. But in many cases, in the vast majority of cases, it's not going to be enough to actually sway an election. And so I think this is a case of something that's very common, actually. It's liberals getting overly happy and congratulatory about what seems like an inevitable trend towards more Democratic victories. And so here we have it in the case of people dying off. It seems like, well, inevitably we're going to win because of it. But there's other examples of that. Just the fact that we know generally Republicans tend to be older, that seems like a good thing. When you look at the youths of America, more of them vote Democratic, more of them are liberals. And so you expect that once they get into voting, they will vote for the Democrat. Racial demographics seem to be shifting over time. As the country becomes more Hispanic, Hispanics tend to vote for Democrats. For a long time, Democrats have believed in the nation at large, and especially in Texas, we have to win eventually because these demographics are changing. Relocation of voters. As voters tend to move to different parts of the country, that seems, in many cases, to be favoring the liberals, favoring the Democratic vote. Fear of immigrants is sort of a direct consequence of that for the conservatives. And so in all of these cases, it seems like we can sort of get away from having to think about the day-to-day realities of politics and making our case and just sort of hope that the tides of history will deliver an automatic presidential win to us. And so I understand that in many ways that could be very nice to just rely on the fact that things are going to change. But the reality is that we still need to persuade on a day-by-day basis that our policies are actually better for America, that the outcomes that we'll have from them are better in terms of the economy, in terms of the society, that we actually represent the voters in a real sense. That is how you win elections, not just hoping that over time, more people that aren't like you than are like you are going to die off. And that's my final judgment.